It's our Power of Prayer series with Acyuta Gopi, episode 19. And we have a good one today. We have the one about Advaita Acharya. The name to you might ring a bell for some of you. For some of you, you'll be like, yes, I know who that is. And some of you like, who is that? So it's really good today. I'm just going to turn my volume down on some of the things. It's really good today that we talk about the aspect of acharyas, especially we're going to talk about Advaita Acharya. So stay tuned in. And then on top of that, you know, we have quite a lot of saints in the movement, and we do certain aspects of respect for them and why we do it. So this is going to be who and why, and maybe we'll go into the where and the whens as well for this session. so let's start. Like you know, Advaita Acharya Acyuta Gopi, amazing saint. He's somebody that if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here in Krishna consciousness right now because of what he's done for us. So, and another thing I found, that he lived for 125 years. Isn't that amazing? So, you know, this must be definitely a saint. So let's go deeper about Advaita Acharya. So let's start with yourself, Acyuta Gopi. What's your thoughts on Advaita Acharya, and why is this day so special?
I really have a deep affinity and love for Advaita Acharya. Like you said, if we did not have Advaita Acharya, we really would not have this Krishna consciousness movement as we know it. There were inklings that Sri Krishna was going to do something extra special and extravagant. You know, there were like whisperings across the universe that I think Krishna is going to do something really big now. He had given this call throughout all of Bhagavad Gita: just surrender unto me, just surrender, just surrender, just surrender. And then there was realization. It's like, well, how are we supposed to surrender? What does that look like? And I was listening to a lecture by my Guru Maharaj, and he was saying that Advaita Acharya is the Bhakta avatar. He is this avatar, this incarnation of the Supreme Lord as a devotee. Which you think, you know, we already have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is also the Supreme Lord in the form of a devotee. But because did we skip?
Yeah, you're just skipping a little bit. I think the internet, everybody's Googling Advaita Acharya right now. So it's affecting our bandwidth right now. No. So hey, just stay on. We'll go through it. No problem. So I can see just maybe we'll get a bit of internet issues, but hey, we'll get there. So yeah, we just missed about the aspect of Avatar, who he is, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like you mentioned. Hey, he came in the mood of a devotee. So here we got a similar aspect going on. So that's where it started to cut, and that it's cutting still. Maybe is it cutting for you? Is it cutting for me? Maybe it's for me. Ah, that's better.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I know.
Oh, hang on.
And
let's
then
just check. Just get.
all
So
together.
while we just wait for the lovely technology of the internet to catch up with this talks, I want to give a little fact about Advaita Acharya. He was born in 1434 and in Bengal, and he lived till 1559. So that is just some tall feat. That's just amazing. Like, and I'm seeing Acyuta Gopi is just going to come back on. I think you left and you're going to come back on. So she'll come back on in a second. So this is the beauty that, think about that. Do you know anybody, number one fact, do you know anybody that's lived to 125 years old? I certainly don't. I'm just going to try and see if I can get Acyuta Gopi back on. We're just trying. I'll have a look. I'm having a look. Ah, there she is. I'm talking about for my Facebook friends. We're talking about Instagram, our place to be. Come join us. Jagannath_Dasa. Over there, you can see. Oh, yeah. You might need to turn your volume down. You're right. Can you hear me now?
I think we're good. Let's see.
So I just gave some facts to the audience. And yes, everybody else is bringing in the aspects of who he's an incarnation of, and we'll come on to that as well. So he was born in 1434, or as we would say, he appeared, because he's of a saintly nature, and he disappeared because saints do not die. They just pass on. He disappeared in 1559. So 125 years. And I asked the question to the audience, do you know anybody? And this is the first question. And I want you to put a thumbs up or thumbs down or no or a yes. If you know anyone ever that is 125 years old. Anyone. Come on. Let's see. Put a yes or no in the chat box. I want to see the interaction going on right now. Come on, Dhruv. Come on, Tarun. Let's get this. We have Upan, Groovy Peanut. What a cool name. We got some cool guys coming on to here. No, Anurag says no. And I'm looking over here. Let's see. Gorgopal. Oh, Rohana says no. I'm just looking. Manik says Hare Krishna. The question was, do you know anybody that's lived 125 years, like physically you've met? No. Yogis. Yeah, yogis. That's a good answer. And maybe Ashwadama. Did you know him? Please let me know. That'd be great. But the point here is it's very rare to live so long. So I think that's the point I'm trying to make. And we have this saint that lived that. So yeah, please, Acyuta Gopi, a bit more about Advaita Acharya, some facts and etc. about him.
Yeah, so he appeared over 50 years before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was here a long time, like, what we'd call like midlife before Mahaprabhu even made his appearance. So wow. I was saying that he's the Bhakta avatar, this incarnation of the Lord, incarnation of the Supreme Person as a devotee. Now, why do we need two? Or, as it would turn out, why do we need 5 features of the Lord as this incarnation of bhakti? And it's so important just to see how each pancha tattva, how each feature of this 5-featured divine group, the first boy band, how they all embody a certain portion of that divinity. And Advaita Acharya is known for his incredible compassion. That's that compassion without which we would not have this Sankirtan movement, this Hare Krishna movement as we know it. He looked around and saw everybody's miserable. Everybody is kind of like floating in this ocean of material miseries and nobody knows how to get out. And Krishna, you promised wherever and whenever there would be a decline in religiosity, you would invent yourself. So now you have to do the needful. So he would sit for days and days and days, and he would sit with a sacred stone, his Shalagram Shila, and he would worship it with Ganges water and Tulsi leaves. That's it. Really simple. And the sincerest prayers of his heart. And those are the prayers which call the divine to say, okay, I'll come and I'll make something special happen. Giving what no other incarnation has ever given before.
That's special on its own. And by the way, we've had some responses, and there regarding that question about 125 years old. So Narendra says, yes, one Babaji still living. That's amazing. Give us the name. We want to know. That's great. We also had our regular. She's always on. I just want to give a big shout out to her. Thank you, Radha Saku, I think her name is. Her grandma wasn't 125, but she lived up to 116. Isn't that's like, she must be doing some meditation as well. And another person, his Gurudev, lived up to 108 years. How auspicious is that? That's just like, hey, when do I want to pass away? Well, I am divine. I want to. 108 sounds like a good round number for me. Forget 100, isn't it? This is a fantastic. And of course, looking back, I'm just looking here as well some more. So thank you, everybody. And we got another thing going on about marriage, etc. That's very good. We're talking about age right now, and talking about Advaita Acharya. So let's go back onto that topic itself. One thing that comes to mind when I think of Advaita Acharya, when you see, like, if you can, just for those that might know when they look, the Panchatattva, you talk about the five aspects and the five divine people. Advaita Acharya it looks as the oldest person. He's got the beard. Of course, he was 125. Of course, not when he met, but he was older. And so it's like, he feels like he's the granddad of the group of the divine personalities. But if it wasn't for him, it was because of him that we had, of course, the Lord, or the divine, who we call Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who also is, Krishna himself. If it wasn't for him to say, hey, please come, like you mentioned, he saw her all around and all the miserable, we wouldn't be here right now. So we say recently, okay, if it wasn't for this person, we wouldn't be here, like, say, somebody that brought us into Krishna consciousness. But actually, we're talking about that person, all the way back to Advaita Acharya, who, if he didn't even say, please help these divine souls, we wouldn't have this beautiful movement called Krishna consciousness. And we wouldn't be talking about it right now. We'd probably be talking about something much more mundane. I happen to think, apart from the coronavirus, what everybody's talking about. But so I feel so grateful to Advaita Acharya. So how do we, in these times, and we'll go into about Advaita Acharya, but what is it good for us when we show our gratitude? What's good for us to do to really show our gratitude to somebody when there's their appearance day, like it is today, and that person's like a saint?
Yeah. It's about sincere, heartfelt prayer and surrender. That's what I feel like Advaita Acharya's entire example was, right? And the title of Acharya means one who teaches by example. And so his entire example was about sincere, heartfelt prayer and surrender. So for me, even just before this live session, it was just past noon for me. And I went before my own Shalagram Shila deity, and I looked, because I'd put up a little picture of Advaita Acharya next to him. And I just said a prayer for all of the people that I know, in honor of Advaita Acharya, saying prayers for this entire material creation. He spent his time praying for others. And so in order to honor him and his example, that's just what I tried to do. I just tried to sincerely pray for everybody that I know.
Power of prayer, everybody. Power of prayer. And Advaita Acharya is showing us the power of prayer, that he just prayed for everybody and the divine came. And similarly here for us as well. This is a biggest lesson, that we have to sincerely pray for others. Sometimes we'll pray, but we'll pray for ourselves. Oh, please, Lord, let my exams go well. Oh, please, Lord, let me get through COVID. Oh, please, Lord, let this happen. We have this thing where here Advaita Acharya is praying not for himself. He's praying for humanity. So you can see, so what's that? We need compassion. We need sincerity. And if we have those two things, then the divine will listen. And as he did in this case. So regards to here, what about before Advaita Acharya? So that's what we do, like you mentioned about praying. And I would love to hear, while we just go on to the next part of this, what you do what is your way, to celebrate or observe a disappearance or appearance day of someone special to you or special in your movement, or in this case in the Krishna conscious movement? We really would love to hear. So please do put in the chat, and as we carry on, I'll pick up on some of those points as well. So please do put in the chat. This is a session for all of us. So I want to just come on to, okay, he was a sincere person, Advaita Acharya. He came, but come on, there has to be a backstory. There has to be before. How he came, what was he like in his earlier days that made him so close to the divine himself. So I'd love to hear that aspect. Please.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. Why would Advaita Acharya be so compassionate? Why would he be so inclined toward Krishna consciousness? And that kind of goes into what the actual identity of Advaita Acharya is, like who he is. And we hear from our spiritual texts and Vedic scriptures that so many of the saints that appeared in this time, which is like the Bhakti revolution. I had a world history course in college, and during that world history course, the professor, who was not Indian, he was actually like a Jewish guy, and he was talking about Hinduism. Because it was world history. He was talking about the history of Hinduism and so many different things. And I was just kind of listening because, I'm always just reserving with my like New Yorker skepticism. I'm always kind of just reserving my opinion and seeing how things go. And then in the middle of the section about Hinduism, he went to what he called the Bhakti revolution. And I was like, wait, what? This is new. They don't normally teach this part. And then he spoke about 16th century saints, 15th century saints, and then he spoke about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Wow.
And the Panchatattva, and how they created this Bhakti revolution, this renaissance, this rebirth of how Bhakti was looked at the time, and how it starts in Bengal and then starts to spread throughout. And I was so impressed that I actually went and spoke to him afterward. Wow. And actually thanked him. Like I was like, as a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, I just said, thank you, because that really, it struck something. So this Bhakti revolution, which we wouldn't have really without Advaita Acharya. And why? So according to our Vedic texts, we hear that everybody who took part has a special identity. We have Srivas, who was Narada Muni. And we have so many different people who are coming, and all of the devatas in the universe are thinking, okay, Krishna is going to do something really big. We should all go. We should all take part in this revolution, and we should figure out a way to try and help Sri Krishna in this never before seen incarnation. If everybody's going to get love of God, we want love of God too. So Advaita Acharya, one person hinted, is Mahavishnu. This is true, but he's also Sadashiva. So for me, right? See?
Oh, you got to break that down, because there might be people going, who? What?
Yeah.
What's going on here? I thought he was Advaita Acharya.
How amazing is this?
So who are you talking about there?
So we have Mahavishnu, right?
And then you talk about Sadashiva as well. Yeah.
Right. We have Mahavishnu who lays on the causal ocean and creates loads of universes as he exhales, and then brings them back into himself when he inhales, and is the maintainer of everything from which all other incarnations spring. This Mahavishnu says, I'll make a personal appearance. Not just Krishna in his original form, but I'll also make a special appearance. But because Sadashiva, Lord Shiva in his most pure, original, unfiltered, most potent form of Lord Shiva, also decides, well, I can't be left out. I also have to serve. I'm going to serve too. And there's so much of this that we see within Chaitanya Leela, within this unique pastime. There are people doubling up in personalities. It's like transcendental carpooling, you know? Everybody's eager to get to the spot where Sri Chaitanya is going to perform pastimes that no one's ever seen or been part of before. Love of God is everywhere. There's an ocean of love just rolling through. So Sadashiva, Lord Shiva, and Mahavishnu. Now they've hinted before that we have no problems with one another. It's like you can't have one potency without the other. You try and worship one without the other, and you have an imbalance.
Yeah.
So they've hinted at this before, but now they're saying, you know what? We're going to join hands on this one. They need all the help they can get. And they both join and they become Advaita Acharya. And in this personality of Advaita Acharya, what do? They just bring about the most compassion for everyone. Everyone. This is what Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva decide to do with their free time. Wow. With the best of their time, they've decided to become the most compassionate personality in the universe.
Look at that. So if anybody ever heard those names before, now you know why it is and why Advaita Acharya is so prominent. And you know what's really nice? I've been getting a lot of comments coming through. So now I'm saying transcendental body pooling. Right. And hey, Ram Singh is joining us all the way from Qatar, Doha, Qatar. So thank you so much for coming and joining us here right now. And I'm looking through the comments and I'm checking on Insta as well. We have got, I asked the question, how are you, celebrating or observing when you have someone special, it's their appearance day, in this case, saints. And I've got here, Sonam says, chanting, fasting and feasting. Oh, I love to hear that. Fasting and feasting. Simple. And she put simple at the end as well. Yeah, thanks a lot. It's like, checking out. Come on, man. Fasting and feasting. We'll go in deeper into that. I'm sure we will. I've never felt the feasting in the fast. I'll tell you that now. But please do tell us how you do that. Groovy Peanut says, dedicated my morning japa. Say a prayer and do a small offering. This is really nice. And then we've got Haribo Acyuta Gopi Mataji. Yes. Diddy would like to be like, wow, he's talking about my people. I like to know what you're talking about there, Sonam. But we're getting some comments coming through, and I will go for a few more. So let's go into now. We heard about a bit about his, a little bit about his backstory. We're not gone. We've seen about him, who he is. So can we, what about, where was he? We talked about his birth. So where he was born. I said he was in 1434 in a place called in Bengal itself. So just about him and his upbringing and etc. And what do you feel like were the essence that helped him to become this very saintly being? Of course, got the mercy, but there has to be something there that maybe we can all learn from, and we could also imbibe in our lives. That's the reason I want to go into this.
So he was a Brahmin priest.
Yes.
And he also becomes like the foremost of Brahmin priests. He becomes like the big teacher of the time. He has his own learning center, and he begins to teach so many other brahmanas. And he develops a really close friendship with someone incredibly special. This person happens to be 17 years younger than him, but they become the best of friends. And this person is Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a Muslim by birth. He was considered an untouchable and an outcast, but he developed such strong faith in the chanting of God's names from a young age, kind of miraculously and mysteriously. He develops this faith in the chanting of Hare Krishna, And he just decides to dedicate his life to doing that. Along the way, as Haridas moves through different places, Benapol, Fuliagram, so many places, he comes to this place where Advaita Acharya is residing, and they develop such an intense friendship. So Advaita Acharya is the foremost of these Brahminical teachers. And right now, the Brahminical teaching is very strict, very rigid, and very much about the rules and the regulations, and that is it. This idea of love of God and devotion is kind of buried and hidden. And so they have yearly Shraddha ceremonies, which they perform for their ancestors. And at that time, it was kind of like the biggest ceremony for a Brahmin to hold. And Advaita Acharya was going to hold one such Shraddha ceremony. So all of the Brahmins were invited, and all of the Brahmins show up because you had to. You know, anyone who was anyone was going to be at that ceremony. So they would offer large quantities of bhoga first to Sri Krishna, then they would offer to the ancestors, then they would offer to the Brahmins, and then the Maha plate from Sri Krishna would be given to one exalted guest, one of the most exalted and esteemed guests present. Advaita Acharya performs this unique ceremony, and at the very moment when he has to give this Shraddha Patra, this most exalted offering to the most senior person there, who he considers the most esteemed guest, he calls Haridas out from the crowd. And he presents him with this honorific ceremony, this honorific plate, this wonderful, grand honor in front of everyone. All of the Brahmins of the time are present. And everyone is baffled and shocked because to them, Haridas is nothing but like an infidel. He's nothing but an outcast and an untouchable. He doesn't even belong here. But from that very moment, and this is even before the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Advaita is smashing the conceptions of caste by birth. And instead, he is trying to pull out what was actually incredibly controversial at the time. But this idea, this quality of what makes one a Brahmin, this quality, this dedication to devotion, this sincere and heartfelt love for the divine, no matter what your past was, no matter what kind of birth you had, no matter what religion your parents were, no matter what religion you were at birth, it doesn't matter. You take to this process of Krishna consciousness or this process of spirituality, just trying to love God, and that makes you the most esteemed guest at any ceremony.
Wow. You know what's really great here is that just now in today's society, we talk about equality, we talk about not having discrimination and all these factors. But hey, this was happening back in the 1400s. It's like it's not new. So it's he must have been pioneering in his times. But that pioneering hasn't come through just intelligence. He was seeing the spirit soul in everybody. So he was more about, and this is what I find really great, because today's society, we have this aspect of judging on appearances. Oh, that person hasn't worn the right devotional clothes. That person, he's not got the right, attire. He might not be wearing, or that person, are you meant to be doing that type of dancing? Or are you meant to be doing all these type of things? All these type of things go, and we've become so much into that aspect, where actually what we should be looking at, and this is where Advaita Acharya is showing, we should be looking at the heart of that individual. Look at the heart, and then we can really start to push forward. So I'm really, really amazed that he was trying to push this type of non-discrimination, this aspect, and seeing that if you see a priest, and when he said Brahmin, for those that may know, talking about a priest here, a genuine priest. It's not just about they wear whatever they do, their attire, but it's actually again from the heart. Are they calling for the love for the Lord? So thank you for sharing that. And I've got some people saying, please add me. I can only add one person at a time, just in case. I'm getting requests for adding. Unless Instagram and Facebook change their policies. So I'm so sorry I cannot add more on that. So yes, Ram, I can't add. So thanks for asking though. That's great. So if we just now come on to the aspects of his qualities we talked about. Whoa, can you hear that? That's my work laptop going off at this time. You know, it's
Wow, it's
6:30.
quite late for you.
I know, 6:30. Anyway, that will stop in a second. So I just want to just come on to this part now. What can we do right now to really try to get to know who he is? Because maybe some people may know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they're hearing aspects today about him. But what can we do? Because what would you suggest? Where do we read? What is a way of us connecting with Advaita Acharya? And what is the benefit of connecting with Advaita Acharya? Is the other part I want to ask.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada gave so much of his time. He was in the midst of writing Srimad Bhagavatam and translating it, and he stopped that because he wanted to make sure that he would have time to translate 9 volumes of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just within the first Adi Lila, the first volume of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's entire chapter, entire sections dedicated to Advaita Acharya. So if we are yearning to find out, we can read that chapter today and try and understand more about him. And sometimes it seems esoteric and really philosophical.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. I think, it's so important to understand that some of it is so inconceivable. If we can start there, all of our acharyas, our teachers, and our saints say, if we can start at the place where we understand that Krishna and his associates are so inconceivable, then the heart gets softer and we're able to imbibe everything else that comes after. So if it seems philosophical and really esoteric and a little bit like it's going over your head, keep reading, keep going. That determination and that dedication is what gets us through. And it gets us to the point where we just receive what's called causeless mercy. It's that mercy and grace where we feel like I don't deserve it. I didn't even understand it. But then that's the point where the divine starts to give it more and more. When we understand that we don't deserve it and we didn't even understand the length and breadth of all of this grace, then the divine says, no problem. That means you're qualified.
So I like that because it's like our minds will always tell us what is going on. Why are you believing this? 125 years old in the 1400s, they did have diseases, all these type of things. They didn't have treatment. All these type of things go through your mind, like as individuals, I'm sure. But this is not the case because we're just using our limited senses of what we have perceived as truths. But reading helps us to expand that. And I like that point. And if you come through a stumbling block, don't just stop. Just carry on and don't let those type of hurdles come in our mind. So I really like that advice. I was wondering, before we do some kirtan and go into because today being Advaita Acharya's Day, it'd be nice to get a kirtan to really feel his presence. And I was wondering, is there any other because he had many pastimes, but is there any pastimes, maybe one or two that really stand out for you and that's helped you in your spiritual life, that you feel like by others hearing right now, it will help them too? Putting you on the spot. I'm so sorry.
Actually, no, I spent the morning just kind of listening to different lectures about Advaita Acharya. So I feel like Krishna was like, here we go, we'll just prepare you. But, you know, his relationship with so many personalities was quite unique. He was able to see things that no one else saw. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually did appear, which, very interesting that we talk about it, right? Let's look at the difference. Advaita Acharya lives for 125 years. Mahaprabhu only stays for 48. When we think about these differences, you know, it's like, people weren't going to live that long then. It's like, well, it's like one end of the spectrum or the other. It could be either or. So when Mahaprabhu eventually does appear, it's Advaita and Haridas among several who are in the Ganga, loudly chanting on that Purnima night when the full moon eclipse was happening. And all of the other Brahmanas were thinking, this is an inauspicious time. Let us go and all call out the names of Hari to somehow counteract that inauspiciousness of this eclipse. So Advaita Acharya and Haridas were among all of those, calling out loudly, Hari, Hari, calling, making sure that what looked like a most inauspicious night was the most auspicious night that this earth had ever seen. He sends his wife, Sita Thakurani, to go and see the transcendental baby. And she immediately is able to recognize who this child is. Advaita Acharya becomes like a teacher, not just for Lord Chaitanya, but also for his older brother, Vishwarup, which actually earns him some dissatisfaction from the mother of Lord Chaitanya, Sachimata. Vishwarup is so enamored by the way that Advaita Acharya preaches about detachment, about looking for God consciousness, that Vishwarup does the one thing that no Indian mom wants their child to do. He runs off before he gets married, and he goes and he becomes a renunciate monk, ascetic in the forest. So she is heartbroken. And she thinks, you know, who is going to help take care of this family now? Now there's only little Vishwambar, you know? But Advaita Acharya, so she's a little bit angry with him. And she doesn't say anything externally. But internally, she kind of holds this little bit of a grudge. And finally, one day, of course, everyone is speaking to Mahaprabhu, and he doesn't often ever admit that he is God. There's just a few select moments. Other than that, if anyone would ever say, but you are the Supreme Lord, he would hold his hands over his head, say, Vishnu, Vishnu. That's it. He didn't want to hear anything about any divinities. I'm just trying to love Krishna. That's it. Just trying to follow in the footsteps of all of those who have loved Krishna. But one time they asked him, they said, you've given this incredible ecstasy, this revelation of love of God to everyone, except for your own mother. Why don't you give it to her? And he says, I can't. She's committed an offense to my own teacher, Advaita Acharya, on whose call I am here. I can't. Advaita Acharya is stunned. And in his humility, he says, he hasn't held any grudge. He hasn't even thought about it. There is no place in his heart where he has thought anything at all about Sachimata or anything she might have thought about him. In fact, he takes all the blame and all the responsibility. She should be angry with me. And he begins to plead with Mahaprabhu. Please, if you hold this grudge, what will all the devotees in the future think of me? Yeah. How can you put this on me? I haven't held anything within my heart. Now this is the combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, right? Purest forms of aspects of the supreme divine. And his humility says, I haven't held any grudge. I don't hold anything against your mother. She's mother of the universe. What can I hold against her? And he immediately begins to plead with Mahaprabhu, just give her your mercy. And at that moment where he is trying to plead for mercy, Sachimata bends and touches his feet. And it's at that moment that Mahaprabhu says, okay, now everything has been set right. Everything is balanced. Now I can give freely this revelation of divine love to everyone, including my own mother. But this kind of humility is unfathomable.
Yeah.
This kind of humility is impossible for us to emulate, imitate, take on for ourselves. And my Guru Maharaj was saying that. He said, one thing he said, if you try to imitate, you'll die. But we can, in our own way, imbibe that sincerity. We can imbibe that heartfelt devotion. We can be genuine. We can be authentic, because that's what Advaita Acharya was. He was not simply acting. Oh, Mahaprabhu is here. Let me act as though I'm humble. He just was, genuinely from the heart. So that's what we can imbibe. We can be sincere. We can be genuine and authentic. And we can try and surrender. And this aspect of forgiveness, this aspect of not even recognizing the bad, which is sometimes difficult, given the stronger the grievance, the harder it is to do, right? Yeah. But it's going to be a constant work in progress, and we can continue to remember these great saints, which is why we honor them every year. We honor them as often as possible, so that we can remember that we can try to forgive. We can remember that between devotees, we hope to have an air of cooperation. We have an air of working together, of saying, oh, my Lord, no matter what's happened, even if we don't talk anymore, I don't hold anything against that devotee. You just give them your mercy. And that's enough. Doesn't mean that we have to be the best of friends and invite each other over for dinner. Sometimes there'll be misunderstandings. But if we can have enough sense of self to be able to say, but you know what, my Lord, no matter what has happened, I don't hold anything in my heart against that devotee. They're your person. They're your friend. So you just give them all your mercy. That's enough.
Thank you so much. We've got to be genuine. And that's the take-home message. Be sincere, be genuine. You know what I would say, if you can, everybody? Maybe when we have these days where we are appreciating saints, of course, we got that genuine aspect towards those saints and thanking them. But what would be really nice is think of one person that may be close to you and just appreciate them genuinely and sincerely. Just that little, cause of happiness to someone else. Because that's what Advaita Acharya was actually trying to do. He wanted everyone to be happy around. That's why he called for the divine to come. He wanted to give this love. So we, by, helping imbibe that in ourselves, in our way. And that's why the Krishna conscious movement is actually pushing. Because it's about giving love to everyone else. And if we think about that, it's like around you, if you can give love to 5 people and show care, how would it make them feel? And those 5 people can give it to others. And that's why we have these models as Bhakti Vriksha. All these models is about caring and sharing and loving. I think it's just, that's all it is. It's an act of kindness. And that's what Krishna, actually, if you break it down, that's what it is. It's an act of kindness. We're doing this. It's an act of kindness for others. And, that's one thing I've just
What's amazing is that Advaita Acharya's entire life is like one big act of kindness.
There we go. So let's imbibe that. And we're coming to that time where some kirtan would be great. And please all think about, while we hear the kirtan today, about Advaita Acharya, the things you've heard about him. And then also, if you've not heard about him before, that's fine. Google him. And we have that thing now, Google. So Advaita, that's different ways of spelling, but the one way is Advaita, and then Acharya, Acharya. Some people take the H out, some people don't. Just try both and see what comes up. And if you see the beard, the white beard, and all in white clothing, like a saintly person, you know you're in the right place. So I want to, before we go on to that, I want to just say, everybody, don't you just love the knowledge and the realizations that Acyuta Gopi shares? I find it really touches every time. If it is, put a heart into the chat box. Let's see who's with us right now. I can see a heart coming there. Krishna's Santa. Oh, okay. Advaita Acharya. Krishna's Santa. Thank you, Archan Devi. we got some witty people on here. Hearts coming.
That's what I was thinking too. When you're talking about the beard, I was like, really is like Santa, and he gives, he gave the supreme gift of Mahaprabhu. He really is like Santa.
Hey, Santa. He's got the beard too. Saroj, Koji, thank you. So good to see you. Ritu, hearts coming all over. Sonam, whoa. Yeah, Crystal 108. She's got hearts with diamonds coming out, man. Look at this. This is something special. We're getting the hearts flying everywhere. Thank you so much, everyone. I think before, like we said, so if you're liking what you're hearing, where I'm coming here is, Acyuta Gopi has put this lovely book out. So check it out. mybook.to/prema. It's called Prema Mala. And this book is going to help with the realization. So sometimes, if we need a pick-me-up or we don't have those realizations coming, it's like if you have a certain book that somebody else has been putting their realizations in and you read, what does it do? It inspires us. And this is what Prema Mala will do. So check out the book, audio copy. And now I think it's time that we have some kirtan. It'd be so nice today to do that. So please, Acyuta Gopi, please could we have some kirtan?
Sure. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna 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 Hey, Krishna 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 Hey, Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima, Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama, Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam, Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama, Krishna Keshava Pahimam, Krishna Keshava Pahimam, Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur.
Jai Vaishnav Thakur ki. Thank you so much. And so many comments were coming in. Divine. Everyone is just amazing, powerful. Goosebumps, Archana Devi says. So really, really have touched many hearts today. Thank you so much, Acyuta Gopi, for that. And everybody, thank you for joining us today on this very auspicious day and allowing us to talk about Advaita Acharya. It's such an honor when we can do that and talk about these amazing, great saints. And, you know, it doesn't have to end here. You don't have to just wait for us every week. And so we can interact. Connect with us, if you like, in between these sessions. So you can get to Acyuta Gopi. Just type in Acyuta Gopi in Instagram. So Acyuta and Gopi, Gopi. And also she's on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel, exactly the same, Acyuta Gopi. A lot of kirtans there. Facebook as well. Type in Acyuta Gopi there as well. So she's on it. She's on all these different platforms. And if you'd like to connect with me as well, please do. Let's connect. And my best place to connect with me is on Instagram. So join there if you can. Jagannatha Dasa, JAGANNATHA_DASA. And YouTube as well. Same, Jagannatha Dasa. So connect, because that's what it's all about. And Saroj, we're blessed to have your association as well. So thank you for joining. And thank you, everyone. And Ahovala is saying, showing up every week is fun. Yes, we're so great to have you. I had to make a mention for our man here, Ahovala. My God, I'm getting tongue twister with your name. You got to tell me some other, nickname for you I can call.
Ahovala is the nickname. Ahovala is the longer one.
Oh yes, it is. Ahovala. Yes, I'm so sorry. So let's keep connecting. Let's do this, and thank you for everybody for connecting here. So on that basis, have a great day, and let's connect next time. And it is recorded. It will be recorded. It's on Instagram, in our IGTV. I'll quickly pop it up in the next 5-10 minutes. It'll be there. So on that basis, Hare Krishna, and let's connect. Take care.